Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of the Getting Older podcast. It's a space where we talk about mental health and the hard truths of trauma, but also we're learning to talk about healing as well. So, my name is Ivory. I'm your host, and I'm excited to dive into this week's episode. Today's guest is a VIP whose story is not only moving, but deeply healing. Nephetia Brown is the author of Rebuilding After Divorce, a heartfelt devotional book that takes you through on a journey of healing that is emotional, spiritual, and practical after the end of a marriage. With raw honesty and unwavering faith, Nephetia opens up about her own experiences, offering wisdom, comfort, and hope to anyone navigating life after loss. What makes her pain so impactful is her ability to turn pain into purpose and create space for others to do the same. Whether you're in the midst of a divorce, supporting someone through it, or simply rebuilding after any kind of life-altering event, this conversation is for you. I'm so honored and excited to welcome Nephetia Brown to the Getting Older podcast. What's going on, Neph?
Woo! That was great! That was so cool.
It's the first time hearing it, that's why.
Yes, it is. I love it. Thank you.
No problem. But first, Neph, thank you so much for coming on this podcast.
You're very welcome.
But first, before we get started with anything, how do you feel right now?
I feel great. I feel like awesome, great. I feel great.
It's a lot of greats.
There's a lot of greats in there because I really, really do feel good. I feel blessed. I feel honored. I feel grateful because it really could have been another way.
I felt that.
Mm-hmm.
So as we get into rebuilding after divorce,
Yes.
Nephetia, what inspired you to write Rebuilding After Divorce? And was there exactly like a moment or experience that made you want to write this story?
I was not healing at all. I wasn't getting over it. I was going to therapy, spiritual therapy, and like therapy with my oldest son and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was helping. I cannot say that it was not helping, but I was just really still very angry. And I was told that the anger doesn't go away overnight, but I did not like how it was making me feel. I didn't like how it was making me act towards my family, towards my friends. I just did not like it. And so one day I was like, well, let me write this down. Like something just came to me real quick, right? And so then I was like, let me write that down. And then the next time something else came to me, I wrote it down. And then I just continued doing that. And then later on, I went back and just was like, yo, maybe I should add a scripture. Maybe I should add a prayer. But only when it comes to me. Like, it's not something that I did on a whim.
Mm-hmm.
My words have to come to me. What I feel has to come to me.
Very organic, right?
Very organic. That's the only way I know how to write.
I feel you. So basically, like, how did your healing journey shape the structure of your book? That's what I want to know.
That is a good question. How did it shape the structure? It caused me to be organic. If I was feeling angry, that's what I wrote about. Sometimes a title came to me, sometimes it didn't. And if it didn't come to me, I would just go back when I got it and after reading it a few times and, add a title. If I was feeling sad, that's what I wrote about. I remember specifically there's a chapter in here, it's called What About the Children?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember this day vividly. It's so crazy that it just came to me. I remember this day when my ex-husband pulled up and he wanted to talk. And that talking ended in arguing, and he still had to take the children, and I did not want to give him my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew that we were both upset. And so my book is structured and shaped around those things that I went through at the moment. And as far as the healing is concerned, that didn't come until later. It didn't come until later. So like towards the end of the book, I was starting to feel, no, actually it was like the middle of the book. I started feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
and it became easier to write without being upset about it. And you can see that by the titles. Like if you peep the titles of the book, like for instance, I'll just give you a little example here. So the first chapter is called If Love Could. Like it's like basically talking about if it starts, if love could tell you how much it loved you, because I was feeling very unloved.
Elaborate on that for me.
Oh my goodness, Ivory. You ever just feel like nobody in the world cares about what it is that you're going through at the moment, that everybody is just like they can see you going through something and all they're doing is worrying about what you can do for them or what you need to do for yourself, and just not really loving on you or not even allowing people to love you. Like I really wasn't allowing anybody to be close to me anymore. And when I wrote, if love could take your hand and tell you just how much it loved you, that love is unimaginable. Because how much could love show you that it loves you? It's already love. It's already there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when I wrote that, I was like, that was like a wow factor for me. Like, okay, so you know that. So what's the problem? You know? And so I remember I bawled because I was just like, gosh, like I'm really out here feeling unloved and I have all the love in the world. I have it already all around me, but I keep pushing it away because somebody pushed me away, you know? And then that's the first one. And then like, chapter 10, Ivory, it should have been me.
What does that mean? It should have been me.
That was because I forget on purpose. Like when I got married, I forget on purpose. But I know, and I forget when I got divorced on purpose.
I felt that.
But I remember we were divorced, and it was like the next year rather, that he got married. And then they announced that his wife was having a baby the following January.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what? And then, like maybe a year later, he told me that he was moving and bought a house. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, did she really just snatch my whole life? That's how I felt. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Respectfully so, I would say that too.
Like, it was like, yo, like, we really planned to have these kids. Mm-hmm. And now you're gone and you're for real leaving. Like, your new family, you do all of this for. Not to say that he didn't do anything for us. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But at that moment, I just felt like, really? I got over that. I had to get over that though, right? And then in 19, I talked about revamping your life. So it's called Revamp Your Life. Like doing the things, getting back to the stuff that you like to do, like writing for me, working out, just taking the kids out, hanging out, being goofy. I love to, just have a good time and crack jokes. You know what I mean? So it's talking about that, revamping your life. And then the last chapter is called Let Your Light So Shine. And that is based on my favorite scripture, Matthew 5:14 and Matthew 5:16. So it says, let your light shine so that the world can see you, so that people can know that you're here, your light can't be dimmed. Mm-hmm. And in everything you do, remember to represent God first. Not always easy when you're talking about emotions, right? Yeah. But that's what those two scriptures talk about.
Wow. So what I realized too in this book too, because faith plays a major role in this book. Mm-hmm. So I want to know, like, how did your relationship with God evolve throughout the course of this book?
I always tell people God kicked me in my back because my dad passed away. And my ex-husband was there, like 150%, 10 toes down, he was there. And see, I big him up too, because I know you got to know, like you have to know when people are in your life and what they're there for. So I probably would have fallen apart, you know, if he wasn't there. Or I could have got it together. I don't know. But I know that he definitely helped. He helped me, he helped my family. He, you know, he was there. He played a big part. So my dad passed away. He and I, we were just talking or whatever at the time, but he really stepped up and just, you know, held it down. And before that, I was going to church. I was doing my thing. You know, I always represent God, even when I didn't go to church. But when I got with him, everything God got put on the back burner. Because I felt like he was my saving grace. Like I used to say, he saved me. And one of my girlfriends would be like, he did not save you, Neff. Like, what are you talking about? And I used to be like, yes, he did. But things were happening. A lot of things were happening. And I didn't disclose those things to family. Some people knew, some people didn't. And it was like, God was like, hello, I'm here. Like he was nudging me like, you better pay attention. Because I'm telling you, that is not your God. You are idolizing this man right now and keep playing.
You know how real that is?
Yo.
Because sometimes when you're in a relationship with somebody, that is your God. That is someone like, oh, this person saved me. This person sees me. This person loves me for who I am.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes you just like, and I have those moments when you said that when God was nudging you in the back. I felt that moment when I'm just like, my God, my lover. And you're just hearing in my back like, no, what you doing?
What you doing?
And then I'm getting hit with karma after karma about certain things. And I'm realizing like, oh.
He wasn't my God.
Nah.
Like, are you crazy? Like you can't put any man before you put God. Like that's just what it is for me. I'm sorry. You know, that's I'm faith driven. I love God. I'm not church driven. I'm faith driven. Like, so God just kept nudging me. And then eventually it was some things that started really, really happening. And it was like I was getting punched in my head, punched in my neck, punched in my back. And then when he said, yo, I'm leaving, that was like a kick. And I was like, what? But let's be truthful. You always see things happening before they happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of times we just don't pay attention to what's happening at the moment. But you always see it. You know what I mean? So what was the original question you asked me? I'm sitting here running my mouth.
No, like how did fate play made you roll in your book?
All right. So after that, running my mouth. So
Sometimes,
after that,
girl, it happens. It's okay.
So after that, I was blessed that, like, first of all, my mom, she stepped up big time. You know what I mean? She didn't have to. When he left, she would help me anyway. You know what I mean? She would help me before, but then she really helped me. And when she was at work, I had some other women that would step in and be like, yo, we here, daughter. One of my best friends, mom, Miss Pressy, she would come in and be like, I'm praying for you. We're going to pray this house down right now. And then I call her my fairy godmother. Her name is Joyce Brown. She would come and she would stay for days because she knew, because she had gone through a similar situation. And she would stay for days. They both did. You know what I mean? And it's so crazy. Like, this is not even by mistake. Like, my mom, she lost my dad. Miss Pressy, she was divorced a long time, but her ex-husband had passed on. And so did Mama Joyce. That's what we call her. Everybody in the house calls her Mama Joyce. She was divorced a long time, and her ex passed on too. So, like, these women knew what it was to have a loss that big, you know? And they really held me down. And so Miss Pressy and Mama Joyce, they would come, they would pray. Mama Joyce would make sure that, you know, if she stayed, let's go, we going to church. Everybody going to church that Sunday morning or whatever. Sometimes they would just call to pray with me, make sure I was good. And then when things got rough, I started talking to my bishop, RTL McGinnis II. Hey, Bishop. he really helped me for like 6 months. He would counsel me and just guide me back. But he's a realist though. Like he told me, like I remember this day vividly, like I was really going through something. And one thing about grief is that you don't know what you're gonna do when you're heavily in it. It's almost like a debt that you pay to grief. I don't know if that even sounds right.
Can you elaborate like more on that? Like what do you mean by like debt that you pay?
It's like you pick up the grief and you think you gotta stay there like you owe grief something. No. Grief owes you something. It needs to get away from you. You need to shed it, you know? You need to be free of it. Wow, that was good enough. You need to be free of that. You don't owe grief anything. Nobody deserves to stay in grief. And so this particular day, I remember calling him and I was like, yo, I'm gonna just walk in front of this bus, Bishop. And he was like, absolutely not. He's like, he was like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? He was like, Neff, if he is not listening to God, he is not gonna listen to you either. And I was like, but you wanna know the crazy part is I already heard that like the night before. Like I really heard a voice say to me like the night before, if he's not listening to me, he's not going to listen to you. And so I was like, it's time to really like just focus on healing or focusing on God and praying as much as you can just so that you could keep sane.
So with that going, what scriptures or spiritual practices gave you the most clarity when like writing this book? What specific ones?
So I mentioned Matthew 5:14.
Do you mind reading that?
Yep, I'll read that for you. Matthew 5:14, 5:14 and 16. And Philippians 4:13 is a very popular one. Is I can do all things through Christ that strengthen you. That strengthen me, excuse me. And Matthew 5:14 says, "You are the light of the world, a city set on a hill that cannot be hid. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good work and glorify your Father which is in heaven." But nowadays, I go to Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Can you elaborate on those things and why that touched you the most for you?
Which one?
The first one.
I can do all things.
Yes.
Because you can get through like people don't believe, right? Because God is literally untangible, right? Mm-hmm. So people don't believe that you can do all things through Christ. Like, and this is Easter weekend, right? So people don't believe that you can do anything through him, that he can really change your life, that he can order your steps. People don't believe that, but I've watched it happen for me, you know, just praying and staying focused and working towards what it is, because you can't forget the work.
Yeah.
Working towards whatever it is that you're seeking, whether it's healing, love, business, your family, whatever it is. You pray, you focus, seek clarity, and do the work to get there.
Okay. And the second one for you?
Let your light shine. Ooh. Because I was feeling what Oprah said, Culliver, I was feeling real low.
Oh, horrible.
And Miss Sealy. Oh, man. No, I'm serious. I couldn't even look myself in the face sometimes. Like, look at myself in the mirror. That was hard. It's like, really? Did that happen to me? And then I felt like, did I let that happen to me? Because I tell everybody, like, any platform that I'm on, I let people know, like, let me tell you something. This is built over time, because I'm not a punk at all.
Right.
So to sit and let somebody punk me was like, really? You left me? Are you kidding me? Like, who you think you are? You know, that's how I feel. Like, I come from a family like we think we all that in a bag of chips, you know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with that. But then when reality hits and you realize you all right, but it could happen to you too, and you have a choice but to deal with it. So that scripture really, once I realized that scripture was even in the Bible, because you only know what's in the Bible if you read it, right?
Right.
You know, even if you go to church every Sunday, like if you don't read it, you ain't gonna know what's in there. So
I've been a victim of that.
you know what I'm saying? It's like everybody, like you, that's just part of a spiritual journey, right? That's, you know, or connecting with God. So once I realized that scripture was in there, I was like, oh, that's real good. That's real. So that was one that I would say to myself like every day, like, you're the light of the world, girl.
Because a lot of times people could feel spiritually disconnected a lot of times, especially like during a divorce and stuff like that. And I want to ask you, like, what is your advice to your readers that feel spiritually disconnected to God?
Because church focuses so much. When you go to church, they focus on being married. In my experience, focus on being married and not being like, it's condemned almost. Like, no, you can't get divorced. You can't do that. When divorce is in the Bible too, so I just want to clear that up. It is in the Bible. It tells you like when it's okay. But a lot of times, you know, you don't know what to do. And you're really asking like, don't nobody, like, why me? You know, why me? And how could you allow this to happen to me? Like I did everything right. I did, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like all those kind of things. And people will turn their backs on God instead of running to him for help. And that's out of hurt and pain and anguish. But if you're feeling spiritually disconnected, what I suggest, nobody could fix that relationship but you. Because I can't sit and tell a person, well, look, read my book. I have a lot of good things in here. I can only give you encouragement. If you have someone who is knowledgeable, if you know a pastor, if you know a minister, you know, it's good to talk to them as well, to get that comfort, to get that word that you may not know. And if that doesn't work, go to therapy. You know, tell your therapist that you are feeling disconnected from God. Tell your therapist, because I've been there. I've been there where I couldn't hear him at all, you know, and I was just so mad at him. I hated God. I hated him. It's like every time I turned around, he was snatching something from me or making me feel less than. That's how I felt. But it takes a little enlightenment. You got to hear that in your heart too. You know, because that's where his love is. It's in your heart. You got to hear that in your heart. But it's a process. It really is a process. And I can sit here and tell you all day how to do it. You have to listen to what's inside of you. You have to listen to the good, not those other thoughts. You got to listen to the good that's inside of you. Because the bad will always sneak up on you and really try to just snatch your whole life away. You have to listen to the good. And you have to just surround yourself around people, around like-minded people. You do. Like, people think that's a game. No, stop dealing with these people that, what are we going to do to this person? No, I could tell you such and such said they could do this and that to make his life a living hell. Stop. Because that hell is, trust and believe it, always comes back to you. So just surround yourself with people that want to love you, that want to encourage you spiritually. That's what I did. Listen to something inspirational. Listen to an inspirational word. Listen to inspirational music, whichever, you know, whatever that is for you. Remind yourself of who you are. You know, that's what I say.
Okay. Now, when I first got this book, by the way, because I asked for preference, guys, I asked Nephetia to be on the podcast before I read the book because I was shooting your niece Sweet 16 promotional photos, and I said, Neph, like, I want to understand. I want you on this podcast, and nah.
You surely did.
When I did read it, I thought it was a memoir, but it
Uh-huh.
was more of a devotional book.
Right.
So I want to know, it's like, what made you want to write a devotional book than a memoir, in a sense?
Because usually a memoir is just telling your story, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to tell my story and help somebody else, because going through a divorce or any kind of grief, sometimes you need a little bit of help.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that by writing this book, it helped me, and I was willing to help somebody else. Like, and this is like putting these words on paper and letting people read it is a very hard spot for me, because that means being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So instead of just putting my words out there, I wanted to give the people something to think about. I wanted the people to be encouraged. I wanted them to know that somebody could relate and somebody loved you. Even if I don't know you, I love you. And put some questions down there so they could have something to ponder on. Because these are some of the questions that I asked myself. And so I found that it was helping me. So I said, let me help somebody else, you know?
No, you definitely did. But even like with writing, was it more, because you said like being vulnerable was like one of the hardest part for you.
Mm-hmm.
So was it more cathartic for you, challenging, or was it like a mixture of both?
It was a mixture of both.
Okay.
Because like you have to, for me, my feelings are always involved when I write. And so that was the hardest part. Because I didn't want anybody to know. And so like now you got to be authentic. Now you got to figure out if that's the route that you want to take in writing. And at first I was like, absolutely not. Like, because I kept hearing like, right. I was like, absolutely not. I'm not doing all of that. I'm not doing that, because that involves too much for me.
Mm-hmm.
Especially coming out of a situation like that, where you were vulnerable 150%. And you know what I'm saying? Like, you get slapped in the face. Can I say shitted on? I
You
say
can.
that? Oh, yeah. Sorry, y'all. And because that's really how you feel at the time. Like you get shitted on, you know? And so that's the only way I know how to put it. And so I was just like, I'm not doing that. And then finally it was like, listen. And I just had to put it all out of there. Put it all out there. So yeah, definitely a heavy mixture of both.
Are there any ever devotionals close to your heart?
What you mean? Like I read somebody else's?
Mm-hmm.
You want to know what's crazy? No.
Really?
No. Never read another devotional before. Oh, you know whose devotionals I used to read back in the day?
Who?
Joyce Myers.
Okay.
You know who Joyce Myers is?
I actually don't.
Okay.
I'm too young, I guess.
That's
sorry.
telling my age. That's telling my age. But
put me on.
Joyce Myers is, I think she pastors now. And she's an older woman. But she used to write greeting cards and devotional books. Like you could go into Hallmark. You know what Hallmark is?
Yeah, I know what a Hallmark is.
Okay. And you could go into
I'm
Hallmark.
not that young.
You could go into Hallmark and find like little plaques that she would make with nice things written on it, like inspirational words and stuff like that. And I would buy her devotionals all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would buy them. And I think that's like, I'm going to be totally honest. When I thought about writing a devotional, I thought about her because I used to love her greeting cards. I used to love her little plaques and her little books that she would write. I would love those.
Yeah.
But other than that, nope. I never read a devotional other than Joyce Myers.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. You really did a good job with it, though.
Thank you.
Because I really thought it was like, what was like inspiration behind it?
Yeah.
That, you know.
I just was like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna write a devotional. I'm gonna be for the people. Because at the end of the day, that's really my heart. You know, it's making sure that the people are okay.
And with people being okay, like, what advice would you give to someone that is trying to rebuild from divorce?
What advice would I give?
Mm-hmm.
gosh. I would tell people to do what you used to like to do before you were married. You know, while you were dating. What did you paint? Did you go kayaking? You know what I'm saying? Like, did you like aerobics? You know, were you into spin classes? You know, because sometimes things get lost along the way, especially when you start having children. You forget about you, you know. So what did you like to do as a single person? Do you still hold some of those memories, you know, dear to your heart? Like I started playing basketball again. It was rough, but I would run full courts with my brother every so often, you know, go to the gym, writing. I started writing. I started taking the kids like out again by myself because I wasn't doing that. I had somebody to do it with me. And so then I started taking the kids out by myself, just getting back to things that I enjoyed. Just getting back to me, you know, hanging out with my friends by myself, not with him, not doing couples outings. That was rough though. That was rough. Like, because then you get less invites where your phone used to be flooded like, yo, we doing this and that. The Joneses are coming, the Grahams are coming.
Yeah.
And you ain't getting those invites anymore. You have to go back to doing what you used to do.
Just being less codependent.
Just being less. Oh my gosh. You want to know something funny though? Before he officially left, I made a conscious decision to start doing things by myself because I knew he was already out the door. So like 6 months prior, I started doing, like, not including him in things, like not telling him that things were going on. And then I left his, because I had my own church. And then once we got married, once we got together, sometime down the line, I decided just to go with him to church on Sundays.
Yeah.
I left his church and went back to mine. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not. And he was like, how you going to do that? I'm like, what? But I did that. So I just started doing things on my own without involving him, without asking him, hey, can you give me a few dollars? Nope. Just stop asking altogether. Stop, telling him. And I had to rip that Band-Aid off. So it was rough, but I was able to do it.
And with that being said, how can your loved ones better support someone going through a divorce?
Be patient. And don't be all in a person's face, because your loved ones want what's best for you more times than not, right? And your loved ones will be willing to do whatever it is to make sure that you're okay. And I had some crazy suggestions, okay? But be patient. I remember one time it was my mom and my youngest sister, and we were in the kitchen, and I was already boiling, and they didn't, because I have a good poker face. I was boiling, and my mom was going in. You should tell him that. And then my youngest sister was like, I'm telling you because this is ridiculous. It's not right. This and that. And I exploded. When I tell you I exploded. I said, this is what y'all want to see? Banging on the table. I said, y'all want to see me this mad, this riled up? I'm already boiling inside and y'all want to add to it. This is what you guys want to see. And they just stopped in their tracks. And they were like, and I didn't mean to, but I made my mom cry. And my mom, she don't cry for anybody. It has to be extreme circumstances for my mother to cry. And she cried and she apologized. And I had to apologize because I wasn't trying to yell at her. I was already pissed off. So sometimes you have to let people deal with things the way they see fit, because eventually what happens is they see it your way. I was also trying to maybe to stroke his ego a little bit still, because I was still in wife mode, right? I was trying to please him and appease him, you know what I mean, still. And maybe it was probably still a little, because there's a thin line between love and hate. So I probably still had a little bit of love in there, right? And so I was still trying to be all these things for him that he was no longer for me. Mm-hmm. And they knew that probably. And they saw that. And eventually you realize that you are no longer that, you know, and you don't have to be that. So you see it that way. But your family has to be, you have to be patient. You have to be patient with your loved one. And just be there when they need you.
So what are some spiritual warnings or red flags that someone can be doing disservice to themselves when trying to get into the healing process?
It depends on the person. It really does. Somebody could rebound, just jump into a relationship just because they don't want to be alone. If a person is like I talk about that in the book too, but I'm lonely.
Wait, don't mind. What? Because I read that one. I did like that, and I did resonate with that one. But what makes you feel lonely for you, like at that moment, for you, if you don't mind elaborating on that part?
Can I open it up?
Yes,
can
you
I go
may,
to
yeah.
it? All right. Let me see. Chapter 11. This was hard to write too. I think the whole thing was hard to write, but some, like I have my favorites in here. I have a lot of notes for "But I'm Lonely."
Because I like that a lot, because at the same time, a lot of us don't really speak about us feeling lonely or experiencing loneliness.
We should, though, because everybody gets lonely. So what do you do when you're lonely? Sometimes you do stupid things that you know daggone well you ain't got no business doing. It says, after years of being with the one you thought would be your forever, sharing space, intimacy, and love, you find yourself alone, an empty space, a void desperately in need of being filled. It's so difficult to get past that feeling. In reality, we aren't ever alone, but it doesn't feel that way. No one, even those that have gone through divorce and separation, can ever imagine or understand how you feel at this very moment, or so we think. Smile. This feeling is temporary, and we have to truly thank God for that, because only through him will our hearts heal enough to make us feel at peace with being alone. Being alone means we have more time to spend with God. Being alone means we have more time to set goals, think them through, and execute them. In your alone time, find time to take care of you. Loneliness is temporary. Allow God to step in and refill your spirit. So this night, I'm being transparent. I just wanted to do it. And I couldn't because I had nobody next to me. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, dag, this is wrong. Like, how I get left like that? Like, how is it fair that I'm not even, because at that time I wasn't even divorced yet, right? He had just left. And I was like, how is it fair? And this is not to slander anybody, that he gets to start over already. Like, how is that fair?
It's not.
So at that moment, I was like, I felt very alone. I was like, I didn't want my kids in the bed, because usually I was like, I don't want the kids in the bed. I don't, so I was depressed. And that sucks to say. Depressed. Very, very depressed, because I just saw my life being snatched away, or so I thought, but I was very depressed. And that is very hard to sit through. Because there has to be a decision made. Like, do you stay depressed? Or do you try to figure a way out of this? And I didn't like feeling like that. And so I chose to make a way out. Loneliness is a dangerous thing. Loneliness will make you go to things that you shouldn't be in. Loneliness will drive you into somebody's arms that you shouldn't be in. Loneliness will make you drink too much. Loneliness will make you party too hard. and I've been known to do that. Loneliness will make you forfeit everything that you fought for. So I just decided not to be that lonely anymore. You know?
I mean, when I look at loneliness, for me, I always use the phrase "misery loves company." So for me, basically, like I'm always like to drinking was my buddy, going out was my thing, just having sex with different people. That was just like all I needed because I just needed something or anything around me. But
temporary
just,
fix.
yeah, but just sit and stay was like just sit still. Actually, stay still. That was something that I'm not used to doing. That's where I started to realize like. Oh shit! Like loneliness scares me,
right?
Because I gotta really sit with my thoughts and everything. And
Yeah.
everything. I just reading that made me realize, like, oh, like,
yeah,
it brings you back. Even to this day, I still have moments of loneliness, of course, but it's just like I learned to now head on use my words,
right?
And actually like really think about the things of like, what's the benefit of me like staying at home and reading a book or writing something than just going out, getting a bottle, or going to someone's house and stuff like that. Like, you know, like literally weigh the pros and cons. And
absolutely.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. Because that feeling when you wake up the next morning, you're like, did I really? You know what I mean? So for me though, like I said, I like to party a lot, but then what I would do is after partying, I would just stay in my bed all day the next day. So I'm still lonely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, loneliness could be very dangerous. You have to recognize loneliness. And that's good that you recognize that.
Yeah. But if you can go back to one of your hardest days, what would you say to yourself?
I've been rolling my eyes a lot during this podcast, if you noticed.
A little bit. I feel you.
My hardest days, you said, what would I say to myself?
Mm-hmm.
What was oh gosh, this is so bad. So I went back to work because I had been out of work for a while. And I went back to electrical construction.
Mm-hmm.
And when we first met, I would call him every lunch break. And this particular day, I couldn't call him because we weren't together anymore. And when I tell you I cried on my lunch break, that was I vividly remember that. I remember I was working in Midtown. I was working at Hudson Yards. And I was walking and I couldn't call him. And I was like, oh, snap. And if what I would say to me at that moment is, it's going to get better. I promise you it will get better. You won't feel like this forever. You won't be sad forever. Your kids are looking at you, you know, because they matter in divorce too. But we forget sometimes. It's going to get better, I promise. That's what I would truly, truly say to myself.
And, sorry, I was just thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I think about this book, so I wanted to give you some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading this book because, you know, I never really thought of like how you can rebuild your life. And it doesn't have to just be about divorce. It could be about anything.
Anything.
Really rebuilding yourself or a family member, a friend, or just any type of relationship you have with something
to
rebuild. So actually, I want to tell you something.
Okay.
And it's a secret that I actually haven't told the public yet.
Okay.
Only my immediate family and my close friends know.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, it's going to be a dun, dun, dun moment.
Okay.
But in late 2021, I myself got married.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I'm not going to really get into the context on the podcast on why I did what I did.
Okay.
Because it was very stupid. And I realized
why was it stupid?
Because I'm doing something for someone else and not for me. It's the
Meaning
best
the
way.
other person?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that was something at that time where I was always, I would say, in people's lives because I didn't have the most self-esteem for myself.
Oh, okay.
I was very much a supporting character in everybody else's life.
Wow.
And never really
Supporting you.
or loving me.
Right.
I really had like such a love-hate relationship with myself so much from just growing up and who I am.
Okay.
So at that time I did that. And I remember 9 months later, there was so much hitting the fan. So much life, that just got me really like riled up.
Right.
And stuff. So like just like listening to you, like I understand, I get it. And the moment I realized I started to rebuild was I came back home to New Jersey because I was in California.
Yeah, I know. I was so happy that you moved. Like I was happy for you.
Yeah, and I remember when I first got back, I was staying on my grandma's couch for 4 months and just drinking every single day and living in that moment. So moments I felt like just being very like upset with myself. I'm so angry because I did this. I feel so shameful, and I just have so much. Just like it's a lot of. I don't know how to explain it, but it was just so many different emotions that I was feeling at that time.
Right.
And I didn't realize like how bad it got. I would like try to take jobs that travel out, the state, like to not be around family, to have these conversations about with anybody because I think no one understand me and what I was going through. And it came to a point where I was at my lowest. I felt like I'm done.
Right.
There was a point, I remember September 1st, 2023, I wanted to take my life at that day because I feel like I fucked everything up.
Right.
For myself.
Right.
I gave up a dream of staying in California and I gave it to someone else.
Right.
So how am I supposed to
move on,
or redeem myself and not feel so embarrassed? I felt it was so many things, Neff,
Yeah.
So after that moment, going to the hospital, check myself in.
Good.
And I decided to really understand if I'm going to be here, how am I going to be here?
And who am I here for?
Right. And I want to make sure that I'm here for myself.
Right.
So I decided to get therapy October 2023.
Okay.
And that's when I first started going weekly and just talking about like how I felt so guilty or how I felt this and that. And then it finally hit me and I realized like, wait a minute, like I'm not the complete problem in this. I take ownership and accountability for any actions that I take. But at the end of the day, like I really lost myself. I lost myself, and I had to learn how to accept that and learn to love myself again. So really just going into like those months of 2024. That's why I kept saying 2024 was my best year.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I made sure that I learned to love myself.
Right.
I always keep singing my favorite song is Miley Cyrus Flowers. Like I can buy myself flowers.
Oh yeah.
Like I sing that every single day. That's been my mantra every single day.
Right.
And then as I entered this new year, I said one of my things was to, instead of like to confront more problems or more things mentally, it was to quit drinking and to work out more. That's been my thing. But when this book came into my life more recently and then I started reading it, and I'm literally, y'all, like I don't know if you can see, I wrote all the entries in this book. And just talking about certain things, it made me realize I want to share something with you actually.
Okay.
And it was with therapy and with just this book. I want to say this letter that I had wrote. There was a time I gave everything. My time, my peace, my silence. Because I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought helping someone meant putting myself last. I thought maybe it would all make sense in the end, but it didn't. It left me empty. I started drinking, not to celebrate, but to disappear, to quiet the noise, to forget how far I had drifted from the person I used to be. I stopped showing up for myself, stopped caring about the things that once made me feel alive. And the hardest part, I didn't tell a soul. Not my family, not my friends. I kept it all inside until everything hit the fan. And when it did, I shattered. I look back now and realize I was trying to hold on to something that wasn't even real. Maybe you need me to be the bad guy in your story.
Mm-hmm.
I've made peace with that because I know my truth now.
Right.
But I won't stay silent in my story anymore.
Mm-hmm.
This is my truth. I'm no victim. I made choices. I stayed too long. I ignored my own path trying to protect someone that never protected me. And staying quiet, that didn't save me. It almost destroyed me. So now I speak, not to rewrite the past, but to understand it, to make peace with it, to finally breathe again. Because after everything, I'm still here. I'm still hearing. And for the first time in years, I'm choosing me.
That's so dope.
And that's something that, you know, rebuilding after divorce has taught me.
I'm glad.
Because I'm still choosing me, you know? As I'm trying not to cry because I feel like I cried so many times and so embarrassed. And I never thought I would share this on the podcast because that's one of the reasons why I did this podcast, because it was one of my rock bottoms. Like I had a lot of tragedies in life, you know what I'm saying? But I felt like this one was the moment where I'm actually glad that it happened.
It's personal.
It's personal, but I was already called a dumbass or this and that from so many people, and just feel so guilty about
ridiculed,
everything, just everything. Mm-hmm. Because even especially the circumstances, well, I ain't gonna say on this podcast,
right.
But I'm just saying, like, just being that person. But I remember now, like, that's what I said. I don't have any regrets now because of it. Because if I never did that, I can imagine where my life was then. Not loving myself at the time. Again, just trying to feel something, have sex with somebody else, and this, like, you know, just like adding more stuff to my system, like drugs, alcohol. Like it's just so many like layers to it.
Yeah.
So now, like, I've finally learned how to, in the, you know, the steps of it now of rebuilding myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm choosing me.
That's the next title for my book too. For the next one, Rebuilding Self.
And that was gonna be my next question, actually. So like after, you know.
Yep, rebuilding self. But it's important though, Ariana. I'm like so proud of you because we didn't have to be sitting here today. You know, you could have made that other decision, you know, and so I'm so grateful that you did. I'm grateful that I didn't, because like I said before, nobody knows what they're going to do when they're grieving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like divorce is a death. It's a death of your marriage. You know what I mean? And people deserve to grieve when they're going through a divorce.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just looks different because nobody is dead, but somebody's gone. Yeah. You know? And I'm just happy. Married? Oh, I can't believe I can't imagine. And I'm not downgrading anything, but I couldn't imagine being married at 20-something years old. 44. So when you make that decision, it's like, okay, I'm making a decision. You know what I mean?
But again, that's why I'm not gonna get too much context of it. There was reasons why I did what I did. But again, I realized I did it for someone else because that's what needed to happen at that time, I thought. But again, just pushing myself more to the back burner over and over and over to, again, I felt like I was ready to explode. Right. But imagine, like I said, like just not even telling like nobody, not my friends or family for 9 months.
To me. And like I said, I remember being so happy that you were moving to California. I was like, that's such a great move. Like he'll be, you know, it was doing his own thing.
My first year was the best year. Right. Getting myself settled in, doing what I had to do. Right. You know what I mean? And then it's just like the second year, I think mentally, like I have so much empathy for people. I care about people so much that I just want to make sure, like, hey, like I want to help you. I want to do this and that. And then after a while of doing all those things and just realizing, like, damn, like I'm really minimizing myself to the fucking core. To the core. So yeah, absolutely. Like, and that can never happen again. That's why every day is a day to rebuild. Every day is a day to heal. Every day is a day to get it right. You know, every day is a day to adjust the focus. It's crazy. You said that you just felt like shattered. Yeah. I just spoke like
I want to say 2 weeks ago about wearing a mask.
Mhm.
And my kids, like being outside the door while I was crying because I didn't want to ever cry in front of them. I didn't think they deserved that they needed to see their mom strong all the time and stuff like that. And one day I just couldn't hold it. Like, you know, I would cry when they went to sleep and stuff like that. But I just couldn't hold it. And I was just bawling in my room.
Yeah.
And so what I said was like, you wear this mask every day. You smile, you hang out, you have a good time. You let people see the best you or whatever and see that you handling it. But when everybody goes home and at the end of the day, when it's quiet and you have to take that mask off and you got to look at yourself in the mirror, what do you do then? How long can you wear that mask?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's only amount of time that passes that you're able to do that. And this day I couldn't. I just let my kids in the room. Like they were outside like, are you okay? Like they sitting outside my door, the three of them. And the two, they were babies. You know what I'm saying? They sitting there like, mommy's crying. And then my oldest, he's like, Ma, you okay? Why are you crying? Like they asking me those questions. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I just let them in. And that was the first time, like they always see the mom. And what I said when I spoke, because it was like a woman's service, I said, but this is the day that I let them see the woman. Like I let them see me completely. You know what I mean? Because it's not easy to fake the funk. The funk. You can't fake the funk, but for so long, you know. Eventually, all of that stuff melts away. That hard exterior and everything, that melts away. You got to do away with it. So I'm glad you decided to go to therapy. I'm glad you decided to put you first. I'm happy for you. You deserve everything that God has for you.
But I think that's the whole point of it is that we're choosing each other, ourselves. I mean, like I choose me, you choose you, you know? And that's something that even like, again, with this book, it's so beautiful, guys. And if you guys like have a chance to read it.
It's on Amazon.
Yes, can you please, before we end it, can you please tell any final thoughts or anything else coming up? I know you said you have another version coming up, but like, do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I actually have, it's called Rebuilding Self, and I started writing some things down, but I also have a poetry book, and it doesn't have a title. It's just sitting waiting for me to publish it. It's a book of poetry, and it's based on love. Because you come across some people that you really dig, like, and they were, you know, everybody, sorry y'all, everybody has a purpose. And, you know, some people are your muse and you really get to know people. And like when you're dating and stuff, like you really get to, even if they're not for you, right? But dating people, you really get to know them, you get to see them if you're that interested, right?
Yeah.
And it's so cool to get to know different people and to get to know about people. And because I wrote this, Rebuilding After Divorce, I decided to write something about love. And I love poetry. I love and again, I'm not like a big reader of like I can't sit here and tell you, oh, Vince Dunbar wrote this. I can't do that, right? But I love to write poetry. And so I decided to do that. So I have those two things in the works. Final remarks, just make sure that you choose you to do everything possible to get it right. And if you didn't get it right that day, get it right the next day. Follow your heart and listen to that little voice. For me, for a believer, I know that little voice is God. Listen to that little voice. Pay attention to that tug on your heart because it all means something. You know, it all means something. So yeah.
One day at a time.
One day at a time.
Now, Nev, where can people get your book and where can they find you on social media?
Oh, Brownie the Builder is my IG handle. That's what they say, right?
Yes.
Tia Teray is my Facebook. I also have a Facebook page. It's called Rebuilding After Divorce. And on IG, oh yeah, I got two IGs. It's Brownie Rebuilds, right? Yeah.
Yes. And where can can I get the book by?
Amazon. It's on Amazon, y'all. So if you like to purchase, I'm thinking about changing this cover too. Because at first I wasn't hung up on putting my picture on it, but now I think I'm gonna put my picture on it. So this is Rebuilding After Divorce, you guys. This is my story, this is my testimony, but you may be rebuilding after something else. You may be rebuilding after a death. You may be rebuilding after choosing another career. You may be rebuilding after moving. I don't know, because everything that we do in life, we're constantly rebuilding. And this is just a little inspiration to let people know, to let you all know that change happens and you got to keep pushing. You can't stay in the moment because there's something bigger for you.
Amen.
Amen.
And guys, again, please, if you can, go to Amazon.com and get Rebuilding After Divorce. And again, thank you guys for another great episode. I want you guys to please like, comment, subscribe to this episode. We're also, again, going to be on Amazon and Apple Podcasts.
Yay.
If you want to listen as well. And again, Neff, I appreciate you.
I love you.
And for letting me share my truth today as well. And
thank you for sharing it. I really appreciate that. That's the purpose.
It came through.
Good.
So
I'm glad.
I thank you guys again, and we'll see you soon. Bye.